Word in Your Attic, a Zoom with a view.
Here we are, Word in Your Attic with Anne Frankenstein. Anne, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. We understand Sunday morning is not a time that you're acquainted with quite like we are.
I would normally be going to bed on a Sunday morning rather than getting up.
So tell us your normal Saturday night, Sunday morning routine. What are you doing?
Well, it depends. It depends where I'm DJing the night before, but often it'll be. I live in East London, and more and more often it's somewhere like Brixton. So to get myself back from Brixton at like 3 a.m, and then I'm maybe going to bed at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and then pretty much skipping the rest of the day.
Right.
It's being exhausted.
But none of that's happening now, presumably, is it? I mean, none of
it's happening. No, I'm
when
liberated.
you last DJ live, as it were?
The last gig that I played was literally a couple of days before lockdown. I was playing at this place called Spiritland, which is this lovely bar.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably played there, have you?
No, but I've been there. But were you at they have one sort of behind the National Theatre down there?
Yeah.
And
So
they have one at King's Cross as well.
That's right, yeah. So I was at the King's Cross one, and that was actually a Sunday afternoon gig, which I played there occasionally. It was very strange. Nobody knew what was going to happen. The owner came in to sort of check out the lay of the land, and we were all just speculating. And then I had this weird experience where I got in the cab after the gig, and the cab driver, it was just a strange atmosphere everywhere. And the cab driver turned around to me and was like, "Oh, do you mind if I put some music on?" And I was like, "Oh, fine." And then the opening bars of Donny Hathaway Live came on the stereo, and I was kind of like, everything's going to be okay.
Oh, really? You're very fortunate that the cab driver chose Donny Hathaway's Live.
Never happens. Yeah,
it can't be. I think you got the only hip cab driver in London.
I think I did.
Yeah.
Didn't he like Krista Berg? I'm astonished.
Yeah.
So you do programs on Jazz FM. Are you still doing? You're still doing that from your home or from the studio or where?
No, so fortunate to be able to broadcast from home. So I just have some basic kind of equipment which seems to do the trick, and we have a system which allows us to broadcast remotely. So it's not 100% live. It's a little bit behind and pre-recorded, but it works pretty well. And people are acting like the radio is like the second coming of Jesus now. Everyone is so obsessed with radio and what great company it is in difficult times. So it's quite a nice thing to be a part of at the moment.
So how are you making up for the fact that you're not doing your normal Saturday night or whatever, gigs, playing records to people? Do you secretly, like most people would do you play records at home and sort of pretend you're playing them to a room full of people? Do you do that?
And do little intros. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This song's always been good to me. Yeah, it should be good to you.
Questions. No, do you know what? I think I was kind of because it's quite hard when you're freelance and your job is kind of fun. It's quite hard to say no to gigs. So I think I was probably playing a few too many before lockdown, and I wasn't listening to music at home that much while I was still DJing. So I've kind of had a break from it a bit. Obviously, I do the radio shows, so that fills up half my day with music, and then I'm kind of only just now getting reacquainted with my record collection and listening to stuff at home for pleasure.
Right.
So that's been quite a nice experience.
So how did you get started DJing? Seriously, was there some fantasy element to this? Did you start off recording yourself introducing records as a child? Surely you did, didn't you? Tell us about that.
100%. 100%. Yeah, we had... me and my sister used to have our parents absolutely tortured. We had a little tape recorder. We used to make radio shows, ads, the music itself, the introductions, everything. We obsessively made these tapes. I don't know what's happened to them. My mum probably burned them in a big bonfire or something because they were so irritating.
I think you'll find your mum still got them. We've done surveys of this during lockdown. People found stuff generally because their mother never let go of anything.
Can you remember the records? I love the idea that you're doing ads too. Can you remember the records that you played on your little cassette shows?
Oh God, I can't remember. I really can't remember. I just know, like, did we even? We just used to sing little jingles and stuff. I mean, I can't. Most of the actual content was like us trying to interview our dad, and then our dad giving us to the count of 5 to get out of the room and leave him alone. That was most of the actual content.
You tweeted a picture. You tweeted a picture the other day of your grandpa playing the tenor sax. I think he died very sadly on the day you were born. Actually, he's playing the tenor sax in what looks like a show band with sheet music. So, what kind of household did you grow up in? If you know, it's interesting. Your grandfather was a professional sax player.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, with a white tux and a bow tie. So that is a show band, presumably. Yeah.
So he played the alto sax, and it wasn't his job, but you know, he was a sort of a few steps above a casual player. Like, he was in bands and stuff. But yeah, sadly never knew him. He died, like you say, on the same day I was born. So I like to think there's some kind of mystical connection there. I don't know if I've inherited any talent from. I certainly can't make any noise on the saxophone. But yeah, in terms of my family, I mean, you know, my dad is really into blues and stuff. People like Bob Dylan and Tom Waits and stuff like that. And obviously, when I was a kid, I raided his record collection, stole all of those records, and listened to them to death. My mum is quite into more folky kind of stuff, and really into traditional Irish music. You know, people like the Chieftains. So I used to listen to that kind of stuff a lot as a kid. Yeah, so I guess my first experience was kind of stealing their records and listening to their tapes in the car.
So have you still got any of the records you stole from them?
Oh yeah, but like half my record collection is, you know, certainly like all the Bob Dylan and stuff. You know, probably that Tom Waits album that you saw the other day. I don't have my dad's copy. I think I destroyed his by playing it too much, and I had to buy a new one. But I did. So there was this cassette tape that we used to have in the car that I completely commandeered, and I had to buy it on vinyl a little while later. Do you remember this?
Oh,
I feel like this
jukebox.
Wow.
Classics.
This was a staple compilation, I feel like, for a certain generation. So it's the soundtrack to a film called The Wanderer.
Oh,
right.
Like, okay.
Kind of like a poor man's American.
What sort of songs he got on it? What tracks he got on it? What kind of
like so the film is like a 50s, just a kind of 50s throwback kind of film. So lots of Four Seasons, Lee Dorsey. It's got the Shirelles, Wipeout by the Safaris.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Tequila by the Champs. It's got lots of Dion on it as well. Shout by the Isley Brothers. So we had a cassette of this in the car, which I stole, and then I got a Walkman when I was like 9 or 10, and I used to walk around the school like listening to this, and I was just obsessed. I knew every single piece of music on that tape inside out. And like, to a kid, that 50s music is so appealing. It's so catchy and accessible.
Oh, really? I suppose that's the case, that a lot of the music that you are kind of most enthused about, you kind of, because of your age, well, a lot of your records are older than you are. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, so you came upon lots of this stuff long after it had first been heard. Do you think that changes the way you listen to it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why. I was thinking about this actually, because obviously, you know, I was thinking about things to talk about for this podcast, and like, I do regular audits of the junk in my house because I live in a small flat in East London, and I was just thinking, if only I knew that one day someone would ask me to show and tell about all my junk and tat, I would have kept so much more. But that's the moment you're dreaming of when you keep stuff, right? But yeah, so I was going through stuff, and I was just thinking, I'm trying to figure out what sort of started me off just being obsessed with older music, you know, like I am. Actually, probably a good point to bring this up. So this is Paolo Hewitt about The Small Faces.
Right.
Came out in the mid-90s, and I was 11 when I got this, and I won a writing competition, and I won a book token, and this is what I bought with the book token when I was 11. And, you know, my mum was like, "Are you sure that's what you want?" I was like, "Yes, absolutely." And I read it, you know, amazing pictures. I read it cover to cover. I was obsessed with it. And just anything 60s and 70s, anything mod, I was completely, you know, I remember going on holiday that year, having, you know, read through that book, and I think I was like 11 or 12. We went to some holiday camp in Brittany, and I bought a copy of MOJO magazine to read, and I also brought a copy of Mary Quant's autobiography, Quant by Quant. So I had this weird obsession with older stuff, and yeah, I guess it always followed through into music. I don't know, it's such a cliche, but I guess I'm always curious about that root, like the authenticity of where music comes from, and you know, the earlier back you go, the more authentic it is. So I guess that's what I've always been curious about.
It's extraordinary that you're reading a book about the Small Faces in the 90s. You know,
and you're 11
years after they'd stopped.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And you're reading copies of MOJO when you're 11. They would be thrilled to have
I don't know. I think,
that's incredible.
But I also think like Britpop was really big. You know, I was also reading smash hits, you know, pretty religiously in Select magazine, and Britpop was such a big thing, and obviously that was massively influenced by 1960s music. So that definitely had a effect on me as well, because I loved all those Britpop bands as well. You know, so I'm sure that had.
Are there any records DJing wise that never fail when you're playing live? Dave and I have had this conversation a million times about the value of Dancing Queen and Jump Around by the House of Pain, and you know, and there's various other records. Come On Eileen, that just can't fail. Don't put the Beatles on is one of the golden rules. Is there any records that you think are absolutely work? Never
yeah,
fail?
I mean, I think it's a constant kind of, I don't know, one of the struggles with DJing regularly is that thing between really wanting to play something that people might not know but you think is amazing, and really hoping you're going to play it and everyone's going to lose their minds.
No.
And then playing, you know, yeah,
no, don't do
never
that.
work. Yeah, it's always.
It's not an educational process.
It's taken me a long time to learn that. Not that I feel like I'm educating people, but you know, when you just, it's like making a mixtape when you love something so much and you just expect everyone else is going to, and it never works. So yeah, it's always kind of a toss-up between trying to do that and then, you know, trying to rescue the dance floor with like a surefire hit. So I guess I now when I'm playing out, I play a lot of disco. So Got to Be Real by Sharon Lynn is probably a surefire thing. Yeah, any kind of well-known disco stuff. ABBA seem to be, like you say, Dancing Queen. ABBA seem to have like regained a lot of credibility in clubs and discos now. I get a lot of people asking for ABBA, like legitimately. So that's always good.
Do you do standard DJ work? Do you? I mean, if somebody wanted to ask you to do their wedding or something like that, would you do that?
I don't know, a bit fussy about that, because I feel like in a club, if someone asks you to play something terrible, you can just tell them to go away. Whereas at a wedding, you
can't. That's true.
You really
particularly
can't.
Might be the father of the bride or whatever. Yeah,
the customer is always wrong. Yeah.
The father of the bride is usually the person I have the most in common with musically. He's usually got the best taste there.
Right. So what have you got behind you there? I mean, are those your records? When you go out and DJ, you take records, do you, or is that just terribly old-fashioned now?
Oh no. I mean, I where they have decks, I'll take records with me. A lot of places only have CDJs now, though, so I have moved on to using USB sticks a little bit, and obviously that's.
You turn up with a USB stick.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know,
there it is.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, I don't have the pain and misery of dragging my record. Exactly.
You always imagine that people must think, you know, what am I paying somebody for? Right, which is this little tiny thing, can plug it in and then pour themselves a pint. No, it's not quite.
I know. Well, sometimes I wonder that myself. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, these are so this is all kind of disco stuff. This is all kind of not in any particular order. I would just grab handfuls of these if I was going out to play somewhere.
Oh, really? No order at all? You just take a fistful?
Yeah, well, I obviously look through what's in there, but it's just, you know, it's more kind of divided up between what I would listen to at home and what I would take with me to a gig. So this is all more kind of gig stuff. And then behind me here, I'm really into like early rap music, like early 80s, late 70s rap music. So I have a lot of 12 inches here. From that
era. Pull something out.
But pull a random
something
sleeve out.
I was going to say the disco rap is the stuff that no one wants to hear when I'm playing gigs, so it's a thrill to be able to.
Right.
So how about this?
What's
Cool
that?
Carl Star Child. Do you like that funky beat?
Wow, that's a new one on me.
Wow, I've never
This
heard
is
of that.
And it's about 16 minutes long, so you can really sit back and relax while this one is playing.
Right.
Rarely get an opportunity.
So it's the 12-inch. It's the 12-inch that's the kind of key currency, is it? The 12-inch single.
Well, I think they tend to be better quality for DJing. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the disco stuff and the rap stuff obviously came out on 12-inch. I do like 7 inches too.
Right.
But yeah, if I can get something on 12-inch, I'll usually try.
I can't take 12-inch singles seriously myself. I kind
Why is that?
it's just a ridiculous prejudice, just because of my age, I suppose. That I've always thought of them well, I can remember the first one I ever saw. I think it was the Undisputed Truths record, You and Me Equals Love and Harmony.
Yeah.
I think it's called
Yeah, got that one.
And that would be the mid-70s. Warner Brothers. Suddenly, I suddenly saw this thing. It looked like an LP. Oh my goodness! It's not an LP. It's only got one song on it. How strange! How novel! and then you obviously got Donna Summer and all that kind of. That was clearly all about 12 inches and so forth. But since then, I've always regarded them as promotional, levers rather than anything interesting in their own right. And I've probably let go thousands of 12-inch singles that would probably buy me a house in the sun if I had them now. This is what I learned rather too late, but that's the way it is. What's that poster you've got behind you there?
Oh, this thing. So this is it's a Keith Haring.
Oh, right, yeah.
Montreux Jazz Festival thing. I mean, it's quite like it's very garish, but I was given that. So a few months before lockdown, Montreux Jazz Festival. Obviously, I have had some amazing artists play there, but they kind of they haven't been very resourceful. I guess they haven't used their archives very commercially very well. So they decided to relaunch themselves, giving access to all of this stuff from their archives. And so I played this relaunch. I DJ'd at it, and they gave me this poster.
Right, very nice. And you had to get it framed yourself, presumably.
Yeah. I had to get it framed, and I need to put it up as well. But it's just so like there's no kind of decor that goes with those colours. So
no, that's true. That's true. You do a certain amount of voiceover work, don't you, as well?
Yeah.
BBC at the BBC.
Yeah. So I do. I'm on the continuity team there. So between programs on BBC Two, Phil Mitchell's in the doghouse again. That's coming up next year. That kind of thing. Which is kind
We've
of
heard you a million times then, I'm sure. Yeah, we have.
Oh, I don't know. I only do it a couple of times a month, but that's quite strange because it's live. I think people don't.
Oh, really?
Know that, yeah. So it's all live, and which
actually you can tell it's live because occasionally people stumble. And it gives you such a shock when they get it wrong. You think, well, why didn't they retake that? I think, well, obviously they didn't retake it because they're doing it now,
Yeah, exactly. So, usually it's so flawless, that you would never usually know that. But yeah, it's live, and the shifts are like 10 hours long, and you're sitting in this booth watching Newsnight and trying to think of pithy things to say in between the programs. It's very strange. Really weird, and yeah.
Oh, 10 hours.
Well, you're literally there for 10 hours.
10 hours of television. Well, it's not Television Centre any longer, is it? I mean, I don't know where it is nowadays. But you go in the headquarters and you sit there because they always used to talk about continuity suite. Are you in the bit? Are you in the bit that used to be kind of almost defended by armed guards? They always used to say there was a bit in broadcasting that you really couldn't get into because if there was a revolution, that's where they'd try to, yank it off the air or whatever. Are you in that bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think they have the resources for the armed guards these days.
No, I don't think they ever had armed guards, to be fair. That was just me being...
May not have needed. Yeah.
But you're right there in the nerve centre.
Yeah, I mean, I get it doesn't necessarily feel that way, but yeah, you certainly need like a very complicated, you know, you have to have an extra special lanyard with like triple IP and stuff, and yeah, because I guess if you wanted to start a revolution, the continuity,
that's where you go.
Live access, that's where you go. Yeah.
That's where you go.
Yeah.
So you're in there, just sitting there watching EastEnders, and then thinking, what do I say in between this and whatever comes after EastEnders? And you got like 5 seconds, or probably slightly longer.
Well, it depends because obviously, you know, one of the bugbears people have with continuity announcers is all the promotion of other stuff. You know, you're finishing watching a very beautiful film with some kind of deeply sensitive ending, and then someone's wacky voice comes over the top to tell you to watch, I don't know, Catch Up with Gardener's World on iPlayer or whatever.
Right.
So there's a set amount of seconds for each thing. So the longest might be like 15 or 20 seconds, but they try and, you know, they ask you to keep it as short as you can. You know.
Do they send you a script then? They must send you a script, or you can literally just write your own links?
No. So, well, they'll tell you what to mention. So you have to write your links around that. So there'll be specific things that you have to point out. You know, like if you hear an announcer, if there's something coming up at 8 o'clock and, you know, you've heard the announcer mention it 5 times in the run up, that would be an announcer sweating, trying to think of 5 different ways to let you know that, you know, Newsnight is coming up at 10 or whatever. So yeah, there's a certain amount of creative freedom, but obviously, you know, it's the BBC. There's a lot of the style guide is like a phone book. So,
no,
yeah.
Fair enough. I'm just absolutely intrigued by those kind of jobs in broadcasting, because you must be as nervous as if you were, you know, you're fronting a program. Sorry, I'm not trying to make you anxious.
And then you remain nervous for 10 hours. I would be terrified.
Yeah. It's the thing about it is, I think there's a limit to the capacity the human brain has to like imagine an amount of people. Do you know what I mean?
That's always true.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. It's hard to imagine that many people. And also, I think fronting a program, people are actually listening to you. I think more often than not, continuity announcer is background noise. So. That's what I tell myself anyway when I'm speaking.
Fine. No, it's absolutely fascinating. I should be listeing out for you.
Yeah.
Have you got any more old artifacts and records there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me see what I have. Oh, yeah. So this is quite cool. So I was looking through the stuff that I have kept, and I found this little picture of Dr. John.
Oh, very good.
Illustration, yeah, which I kept because it's got the number on the back, this phone number with this guy called Bubba O'Keefe. So a couple of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I went to America to look for records and just explore, you know, the sort of classic Memphis, Nashville, Clarksdale kind of thing. And I went to Clarksdale. Have you guys been to Clarksdale?
I've never been to Clarksdale. No, I haven't been to Clarksdale. No. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, so it's really small and it's kind of really well preserved. You know, nobody's touched it in about 60 or 70 years. And there's 2 really nice blues clubs there. And there's also the old WROX radio station, which had people like, I think Ike Turner was like the janitor there. Sonny Boy Williamson had a show there. So it's like this piece of history, but it's not a museum or anything. It's just there gathering dust. And I was poking around Clarksdale and I got chatting to some guy in a shop and I was asking him about the radio station and he said, oh, you know, it's not been open for years. There's only one guy who has the key and that's Bubba O'Keefe. And then we got chatting a little bit more and this guy realised I was Irish and he was like, well, if Bubba finds out you're Irish, he'll definitely like let you in your radio station, because that's how it works in America. And so this, I went up by the radio station to wait for him and he jumped out of his car and he went, my name's Bubba O'Keefe. What's your last name? And of course I told him, and I think he was expecting like O'Neill or O'Reilly or something.
Right, yes. Been really disappointed.
Frankenstein. That's right.
Yeah. Not impressed with that at all. But we carried on. So just this magical experience. Like, he lets me into this radio station, you know, everything's covered with like layers of dust and like all this pigeon shit, and there's like these piles of old promotional 7-inches from like the 50s and 60s. All the furniture is really well preserved, you know, there's like the decks are there that they used to use. I have photos, I don't know how well they'll translate from my phone over the screen, but it was just an incredible experience. And so I sort of I kept this little picture as a memento with his number on it. It was incredible. I don't know what's happening with it now, because like I say, that was like 5 or 6 years ago, and I know he was trying to open it as a museum, but I don't know if they ever got the resources.
Well, everything eventually in the American South becomes a museum, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You must have found this if you went around Memphis, you know, that if you do the various kind of music heritage sites in Memphis, you know, the original microphone that Elvis Presley used is presented to you everywhere you go, like fragments of the True Cross, you know. No, the one we got here in this bar, that's the real one. And the weird thing about Memphis, because, you know, Mark was saying I've been to Clarksdale. I hadn't, but I've been to Memphis a few times. But I went to Memphis in 1970. Is it 77 or 8? I can't. When did Elvis die? Elvis died in 76.
77.
Did he die in 77?
Yeah.
Okay. So this must have been 78. And I went there, and I was there for the Memphis Blues Festival, Jazz and Blues Festival. And I was taken by Alex Chilton out of Big Star. Said, I'm going to take you to show you where the blues came from, rather showily, you know, but he's a local boy, you know, was a local boy. And he drove me out of Memphis down towards into Mississippi. And we literally, you know, we drove off the main road, and he took me into a small town where literally the black people lived on the other side of the railway tracks. It really, you know, so all that stuff that you always thought was metaphor, no, that's real. That's the levee. Those are the tracks. Those are the people who live over there. That is what a MOJO hand looks like, and all that kind of stuff. And the funny thing about it at the time was that they were just about knocking down Beale Street. The wrecking ball was ready to take out the last bit, you know. And then suddenly somebody must have thought, hang on, there could be a future in music heritage. So now you go back to the place, and it's all been frantically rebuilt.
Oh, yeah.
It has. It's
turned into burger bars and, you know, heritage sites and neon signs and absolutely everywhere you look.
But that's true all over the world, isn't it? I went to Morocco not long ago, and Jimi Hendrix went to Morocco famously for 3 days, and every single part of Essaouira has a kind of Jimi Hendrix cafe, Jimi Hendrix, you know, museum, Jimi Hendrix. This is where he stayed. This is where he played. This is where he did a gig. This is absolute nonsense. And he was there for 3 days and did virtually nothing at all. But they have made an absolute pile out of it.
Yeah,
you go all over the world.
You got to make the best. You got to make the best you can out of it.
Yeah.
So go on.
I was horrified by. I'm sure you were. You know, if you've been back there, Beale Street is just an absolute big tacky plastic joke now. And I hate the way as well. You know, a lot of these bars in America, even in Clarksdale actually as well, you'll get some amazing blues musician up on stage, you know, earning their money up there playing amazing music, and then they'll have like 12 different TVs on in different parts of the bar playing different sports at the same time with the sound up. There has to be stimulation coming from every direction.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's the standard American bar experience, isn't it, really? That's bound to be the way. So what are you doing for the rest of the day, Anne? I realise we've started your day with massive excitement talking to Mark and me. How can the rest of the day possibly match this?
No, honestly, I think I'm going to go and have a nice, I haven't seen my sister in a while. She lives up in Crouch End. So I think I'm going to meet her halfway and have a nice socially distant walk and chat with her. And hopefully the weather holds up. So,
yes. Did you have biblical rain yesterday where you are, right? You didn't have that about 5 o'clock.
No, we did. And I saw your tweet about it, actually, that you got caught out in it.
Incredible thunderstorms.
I checked my bloody weather app. I thought I'll go for a walk. It said no precipitation for next hour. half an hour later, the worst rain I've seen in years.
It's nonsense. Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, hail and you know, thunder and lightning. It was biblical, exactly.
Well, let's hope it's not going to happen today, and it's going to be pleasant. And it's been lovely talking to you, Anne.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
And we shall hope to meet again when this bloody war is over, as we say.
I really hope so.
All the very best. Cheers.
Lovely to see you guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.